Sri Lanka, a country at the cusp of two crises, economic and political. How did the situation get so dire? Will the Rajapaksas lose power, and when will this turmoil end? To find the answers to these questions, our correspondent Dasuni Athauda sat down with former Deputy Governor of Sri Lanka's Central Bank. Listen into this exclusive conversation.
When we look at why Sri Lanka got into this economic crisis in the first place, one of the reasons were the tax reductions that were made by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa soon after he became president in 2019, which arguably ended up with the government losing on much needed revenue for the government in itself. But Finance Minister Ali Sabri has been seen speaking to foreign media and has been stating that, in fact, it will be inevitable in the coming few weeks or months that taxes will once again be raised. Given the current situation, Mr. A.Wijewardena, is this the right move? Is this the step towards the right direction?
Well, that is the right direction, because we'll have to congratulate Minister Ali Sabri for coming out with that frank opinion, because normally ministers of finance had been very, timid when it comes to proposing unpopular and bitter policies. So we have to actually commend him on that count. This is inevitable, and this is a must because of two reasons. One is the government of Sri Lanka, after it has lost the revenue due to its unattractive, unsolicited, attractive tax concession it offered to income taxpayers and the value-added taxpayers, it lost revenue, and it had depended on the money printing capacity of the central bank and the banking sector to finance its bills. Right now, they cannot do it because the International Monetary Fund has actually laid down four preconditions for Sri Lanka to start any negotiations with the IMF. And one of the conditions is that the central bank will have to stop financing the government and also tighten the monetary policy, which Nandalal Virsing is doing right now. He has increased the interest rates and allowed the treasury bill rates to go up to 24%, which was earlier only 12%. And he's tightening monetary policy. And in the last few auctions of the treasury bills, he had been able to collect everything which the government needed from the market without lending even a single cent from the central bank to the government. So he is actually complying with the requirements of the IMF in order to enable Sri Lanka to start its negotiation. So what Ali Sabri has said is perfectly correct. And as citizens and as professional economists, I have to, endorse him, and I have to support him in his endeavor.
Amidst this crisis, a phrase or a concept that has very much come into the limelight is this concept of debt restructuring and debt sustainability. How can Sri Lanka really look into this in a fruitful manner, given the fact that we did see China stating that it is not in favor of this concept of debt sustainability? So how can we sort of find a compromise that will work for one of our biggest creditors as well as the country's economic well-being?
Sri Lanka has no choice in this case because we don't have foreign reserves. Now the foreign reserves of the central bank as at the end of March has just been released by the central bank, and it's negative to the extent of $4 billion. And we don't have any foreign reserves to pay our debt. So we have to compulsorily go for debt restructuring. And it's very heartening that Governor Nandalal Virsing addressing the media yesterday, he was very, frank. He said that if China wants, we cannot, give preferential treatment to China. Whatever the treatment that we would be giving to other countries, we'll give to China as well. So let China take it or leave it. So this is a very, very straightforward opinion expressed by a governor of a central bank. And I admire Nandalal Virsing for making that statement very directly and very accurately.
Also, we are now in the middle of a political crisis, Mr. Wijewardena, in the middle of an economic crisis. How has this impacted, in your expert opinion, given that now we have sort of fractions within the government and fractions within the opposition and the government, and neither of them want to come together and solve this issue? How has the current political crisis really impacted the Sri Lankan economy, especially over the past few weeks, given that there has been massive public outcry in itself for the government to step down? As an expert yourself, do you think this is the right move? Should the president step down? And if he is to do so, from an economical perspective, what are the alternatives?
I am not here to give that recommendation to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He must be intelligent enough to read the writing on the wall. The writing on the wall is that everyone who had supported him at the presidential election in 2019 has come out into the streets. The artists, the Mahasangha, the Catholic clergy, and all businessmen, all the big businessmen, small businessmen, university students, academics, all the people who had supported him in the presidential election in 2019, they have come to the street and they are asking President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to step down, Mahinda Rajapaksa to step down, the cabinet to step down, because the entire Gotabaya Rajapaksa administration has failed in the last 27-month period because they were not able to deliver any of the things that they had promised in the election. Instead, what happened was actually during their rule, the economic conditions have deteriorated. So in my view, the political stability is actually highly fatal to Sri Lanka's economic growth. We must ensure the stability as fast as possible. For that purpose, if President Gotabaya Rajapaksa can read the writing on the wall accurately, he will have to now step down.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.